Gummies are probably my least favorite dessert kind of thing.
You chocolate girl?
I love chocolate. Yeah, I do. See, there's not.
Please get that.
Volunteer.
Right now it's us connector.
So we both get started. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Christy Chandler, and I'm in the Department of Human Development and Family Science, as well as Educational Leadership. And I teach the Family Law and Public Policy course, which is a required course for HDFS majors. But this course is one that I have taken to Washington, D.C. twice, not U.S. and Scandinavian policy, but family policy. So I've taken it to DC twice, and I've taken it to London once, and then I've been in my mind planning this trip for quite some time. COVID kind of messed me up there a little bit, as it did most of us. And then I decided, what better place to go than Denmark and Sweden after COVID, because as you'll see in a minute, they're the happiest countries in the world. So I thought, we might as well go there and visit. So they also have great family policy. So Denmark and Sweden, can y'all, do y'all all know each other? Okay, so I'm Christy Chandler. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm here because I'm the director of Stanford Abroad. My name is Jennifer Lackey. So eventually we'll be working with our website and our applications, and I'll be doing two-part orientations with you. So really just kind of here to answer any of those logistic questions if you happen to have them. But really the point of today is to hear from Dr. Chandler about the program.
Hey, I'm Jordan Havara. I was a student, it's like a decade ago now. I'm a 2017 graduate, still living in Birmingham. Was a business major and was fortunate to go on the London trip that Dr. Chandler was.
And if y'all will just say your name and your major, that'd be great.
I'm Suzanne, I'm an HDFS comms line. I'm Kate, I'm college.
I'm Cindy, and I'm HDFS.
I'm Hannah, I'm HDFS.
I'm Lindsay, I'm HDFS.
I'm Jocelyn, I'm HDFS Pass.
Okay,
And more on your administration.
okay.
I'm Tate, and I'm CHPAD.
Okay, great. So we have some HDFS majors, some non-HDFS majors, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So Denmark and Sweden is where we're looking at going. The course itself is IMTL 399. So if you're looking for it, do y'all register the
So the way it'll work is we'll send you a special CRN that's only for the section course that's going to this place in the program. We'll also special permit URN, so nobody else can just wander by and do it even if they should happen to find the CRNs.
Yeah. So we're looking at US and Scandinavian family policy. And in case you don't know where Denmark and Sweden are, I provided a little map here. This little orange is Denmark, and the little yellow is Sweden. Copenhagen is the capital of Denmark. Stockholm is where we'll be going in Sweden. I couldn't find a map that had both, so but that's what we've got. So the travel dates are tentatively set for May 5th through the 21st, although this is a May term class, which extends a little bit beyond that. So we're looking at May 5th through the 29th. So May 5 is the first day of May term. Applications, as you probably know, open on October the 18th. I think they run through December 5th. But the main thing is that they open October 18th. And if you're interested, I would suggest you go ahead and jump on that quickly at 7 a.m. because programs have been known to fill up.
There's no application fee for submitting your application at that point. We'll only charge you the $200 application fee if you're actually accepted onto the program. So if you're waitlisted, you won't be charged.
Well, that's good to know. Okay, so why Denmark and Sweden? I don't know if this is gonna play, but I'm gonna see if it might play. I think that it will. This is a student of mine who went to Denmark and Sweden recently. I had another student who went summer before last. She studied abroad. Jennifer might remember. She was going for about, I don't know, 4 weeks maybe. She emailed me and said, can I please stay longer? Can you please help me find other courses that will work. And so she ended up staying the whole summer because she loved Denmark so much. But this one hopefully will play with her, and I will turn this up a little bit for you. So I don't have.
Hey Sanford, my name is Caroline Brown and I am a 2023 graduate of the Human Development and Community Science program. I cannot wait to tell you.
Let's see if I can. Stop.
It's there.
It's okay, thank you.
My name is Caroline Brown and I am a 2023 graduate of the Human Development and Community Science program. And I cannot wait to tell you about why you cannot miss out on the opportunity to study abroad in Denmark and Sweden. First things first, Denmark and Sweden are home to some of the most beautiful views and vibrant streets, not only in Europe, but in the world. I would say I am someone that has always loved being on the water, and I was never at a loss for places, either of these countries, to enjoy a nice waterside view. Denmark and Sweden have been voted to be two of not only the safest but happiest countries in the world, and it's just so evident when you walk on the streets and you see people dancing and enjoying life. As someone who studied abroad in undergrad, I understand the importance of a great coffee shop to be able to not only get work done, but also enjoy the aesthetics of the place where you are. Let me tell you, both of these countries have that. I can say with the utmost confidence that Denmark and Sweden are two of my favorite countries that I've ever visited, and I encourage you to go check it out for yourself. You won't regret it. Hey Sanford, my name is Caroline Brown and I am a 2023 graduate of the.
Okay. So that's Caroline. She actually studied abroad in another country, but went to Denmark and Sweden this past summer and had a fabulous time. So I wanted her to give me her input about what she liked about Denmark and Sweden, because she had messaged me while she was over there and said, I know you're thinking about doing this. This would be a fabulous trip for all students. So she and the student before that are the two that had convinced me. I had been talking about it for a while, so that's how they knew that I was interested. And I'll tell you why I've been talking about it. So first, we know that Denmark and Sweden are in the top 5 of the happiest countries in the world. You may not know, but Denmark and Sweden are number 1 and number 2 for the best countries to raise children. And they're also number 1 and number 2 for the best quality of life. So living in Denmark and Sweden and raising children in Denmark and Sweden, they have some of the best family policies in the world. And so we'll be studying that and how that compares to US family policy as well. So academics, who should attend? Everyone should go on this trip. I'm fully convinced that it will be a wonderful experience. If you are not an HDFS major or minor, then this can count as a social science, or it can count as a gen ed humanities credit as well. So that might help in your gen ed area. If you're a law, politics, and society major, it counts towards the major, as does HDFS. For HDFS, family law and public policy is a required course. So you got to take it either here or sitting in OBB, one of those two. I'm pretty certain this is going to be a much more interesting and valuable experience, although I try to make the OBB experience valuable as well. And then possibly other majors, so history, history. When I did London and we did US and UK family policy, I had a history major. She got permission from her advisor at the time. Things changed, so you have to check and see if there's any way it might count towards something for a major, not just history, but any other major that you might have.
But also political science minor, does that go under the umbrella with the like nonprofits and society major?
So you will have to double check with the political science department. That's a great question, but you'll have to check with them to see if they would let this count or not. And if you put your name and email address down, I'll be happy to send you the syllabus so that they can see what the course will be covering. One of the reasons it counts as a social science or humanities credit is because it's important to understand the culture, not just the laws and policies of a particular country. So understanding how, hi, come on in, how the countries operate on a social level, on a cultural level, is really important to understanding why their laws and policies are the way that they are. So happiness is huge, trust is huge. And I didn't put this on there, but Denmark and Sweden have some of the highest opinions about their government. Pretty certain we might not share that same opinion in the US as they do in Denmark and Sweden. So it's important to understand the culture. So I wanted Jordan here today to talk about why would a business major or any other non-major be interested in taking a family law? Let's see.
Suppose I'll stand. Thank you, Dr. Chandler.
Sure.
Again, my name's Jordan Hovater. I went to London on that last trip in that was 2017.
It was.
Wasn't it? Yeah. And truth be told, I really just wanted to study abroad. I was a business major, majoring in marketing and finance. This was my last chance to study abroad. So I was like, whatever it takes to do this and actually get some kind of credit, I will do. That option happened to be this HD
HDFS
course. So going into it, I had no idea what to expect. I'm like, this is great. I just get to go to London. I don't really know anyone. I don't really know anything about what we're going to be learning, but I just want to get overseas. And I was pleasantly surprised with the university. Going into this trip, I did not know a single person on the trip, Dr. Chandler or the other students. And I was also the only guy in our class. There was a freshman class that I brought up, but I was the only guy. So I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I can make some friends and make this work. But again, had no idea what to expect. My takeaway, especially now looking back on this trip, was it was probably one of the most well-rounded educational experiences I've ever had. And I've benefited so greatly from that time and from getting to do all this. Because what I realized is when it comes down to it, you're not just learning family policy in a silo. You're learning things about the legal system, the healthcare system, lots of other government organizations, government as a whole, politics. Business is certainly involved. And me as a business major realized very quickly, you can't separate family policy from economic policy. The family, because it's the core of society, is so inextricably tied to the economy and the decisions businesses make and decisions governments make, regulating businesses. So for that reason, I think this is just one of the best educational experiences you can get, no matter what you're studying. I mean, sounds like a lot of the majors here are at least tangential, if not family studies. But like, even if you were a nursing major or an accountant, like your work is either directly or indirectly influenced by all the things that you're going to be learning. And then I remember one impactful moment that stuck with me since. We had a guest speaker come to the Daniel House in London to talk about, it was mostly around the British healthcare system. I remember, obviously that's very related to family and we spoke to that, but it was about how different the healthcare system over there is, similarly like a lot of European countries. And so, he's going through explaining this, how much citizens are taxed, where that tax money is going. These are the free healthcare services we have, and we're all listening, very engaged. Yeah, this makes sense. Like, why don't we have that? Why can't we do that? This seems better. And then we asked him point blank, and we're like, well, why doesn't the US do this? And he straight up told us, this wouldn't work in the US. There's no way you could do this right now because of so many cultural things like you were talking about, and then foundational ways that things have been set up. So it gives you a really good perspective on, you know, why different countries are different, and those differences aren't bad. A lot of them are, you know, a lot of those things are rooted in history. So it gave me a better appreciation for the US and for all these other countries that we in our minds, you know, the landscape tend to get so polarized about such far. I walked away from that thinking like, wow, there are good things in just about every culture and government, and the differences exist for a reason. So that was one example. That was very valuable to me. But yeah, I think that was the big takeaway. It was so well rounded, and then as a business manager specifically, I was like, all of these things are directly impacted by, and then in return impacts the economy. It's fascinating. So I can't speak to Sweden and Denmark specifically, although now I'm starting to get some FOMO hearing about all this. But the course itself, I can promise you, you'll walk away a much more appreciative and educated person on the world. Yeah.
So, in case you don't know, even for HDFS majors, I would not say that family law and public policy is the course that most of our students are dying to take. They tend to want to take more of the touchy-feely developmental kinds of courses. That's what kind of attracts students to the human development family science major. But my goal in this course, whether abroad or in person, is to help people understand how law and policy impacts families. You don't have to be a politician. You don't have to be a political science major. You don't have to, you know, like anything about government or even know how government works before you take this course. But my goal is to help us all understand how law and policy impacts what goes on in our everyday lives as families. So that's the whole purpose. So academically, you know how this works. Just to let you know what we're planning. So in Denmark, we'll be there May 6th through the 17th, which is my birthday, by the way. So we'll be celebrating my birthday, traveling from one country to another country. But the Tulip Festival is probably the cultural thing that I am most excited about. And probably the different government buildings are the academic kinds of things that I'm most excited about learning about those. We'll do a tour of the Danish Parliament. There's a happiness museum there in Denmark and Copenhagen, so we can understand the culture a little bit better. We have several palaces, the Tivoli, I've got to work on my pronunciations. I think it's Tivoli Gardens. And you can see some of these others. I've got us on Sundays actually going to a church service. I hope that is acceptable. But it's also a way for us to see some of the other churches. There's one that has a spiral staircase that we'll get to on as well. The National Museum and another castle as well. So those are some of the things that we have planned. Throughout there, we will also have some meetings planned with people who, like ombudsmen, who work with either nonprofits or government agencies. So we're working on that as well. And then in Sweden, we'll be there the 17th through the 21st. The 17th through the 21st, again, Royal Palace. I understand I'm not quite as social media savvy as y'all are, but I understand that apparently the Swedish monarchy is kind of a thing. So I don't know if y'all tracked the Swedish monarchy, but apparently it's a thing. Does anybody know this, or am I just making this up? Mainly because I've probably been searching, and now the algorithm on my social media pops up about the Swedish monarchy. So anyway, but I do think it's kind of a thing. So we'll look at the Royal Palace. Several museums you can see listed here. The Stockholm Cathedral is another place that we will go because religion is an important aspect of family law and public policy. So That's why we have the churches in there. And you'll see there's an open air museum that I'm excited about. And then we'll meet with the Swedish Social Insurance Agency. So we talked about health insurance is an important aspect. Education is an important aspect. Stockholm City Hall and then other ombudsmen as well in Sweden. So Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but students will make their own flight arrangements. So we will fly into fly into Copenhagen and fly out of Stockholm, correct?
Correct, and what we will do is provide you Dr. Chandler's itinerary if that matches. And you can book yourself on those same flights. We also have a travel agent that we will recommend, although you're not required to use either the travel agent or be on that same flight. So if you have a different airline that you're going somewhere else with, you can certainly do that. What's most important is that we will send you the time and the airport to be at on that day. So however you choose to get there, I mean, you may travel ahead of time and want to go to UK and then jump over to Denmark, that would be fine. You just have to be at that airport at that time on that day to get the transportation from the airport to the start of the program, right? And so we will be asking you to provide us your flight itinerary and all of the details, both for departure, arrival and departure. If you're arriving a few days early, you need to know that you're planning to be at the airport or go straight to the hotel, whatever. So we'll be collecting all that information from you. The point is, we're going to make sure everyone gets what they need to do. Right. You will also have the option of attending a flights workshop if you want some help with an international flight, or booked an international flight as well. You know what to do or what sites you recommend. We have a whole handout that will be posted to your application portal where you can see what we advise. And again, we'll sit down with you one-on-one.
So this is straight from the website. I've got the website listed. I think it's abroad.sanford.edu. And you can go and look at the financial worksheet. I assume that many of your parents, I know we did the study abroad fair on Friday, several parents were asking about cost. So these would be the billable amounts. There is an application fee, which again is not due until you're accepted in the program. So you can go ahead and submit your application. There's a program fee, which I have highlighted, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. That's $48.80. Tuition for 4 credit courses listed there, and then student fees those haven't been determined yet.
Yeah, we don't want to lock that in because we weren't quite sure. So I think it's been $294 in the past. Once you find out what that is, you can type that in yourself to calculate that rate. What is that? It's just your fee for being a student at Sanford. You pay it every semester, and every summer that you take classes. It's just a flat fee, university price.
Okay, so included in the program fee, so this is that $48.80 portion of it, would be group transportation from the airport upon arrival when we are in Denmark. There's an 11-day transportation pass because we will take public transportation while we're there. That Fred can tell you about public transportation in London. That's right. Remind me to tell you a story, and then I'll tell you a story at the end. We're going to have a welcome dinner in Denmark. We'll have a farewell dinner in Sweden, which we'll talk about too in just a second. Double occupancy in hotels for the 15 nights. 11 of those are in Denmark, and 5 of those are in Sweden. Of the 16 nights, so it must be. I'll have to go back and double check that. Whatever it is, your nights are covered. We'll sleep in a hotel. There's a train from Copenhagen to Stockholm that we will take. And I don't know if anybody's looked at the bridge. Anybody been to Denmark? Okay. So I have not either, but I've been researching for quite some time on this trip. And it is a pretty fascinating bridge that I think our train will take. I don't know any other way to get there other than this particular bridge. So you'll have to check it out. It's pretty fascinating. Again, transportation pass while we're in Sweden, group transport back to the airport, international medical insurance, and then my understanding is that the entrance fees for any of the sites that we're going to see will be covered as well.
And it's overnight in Sweden, you'll be there May 17th through the 21st, so 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, you'll have a hotel room with any department.
Thank you. Change that. Okay, thanks. Okay, so what's not included, and you'll see this on the worksheet also when you go to the abroad.sanford.edu. I don't know if you already have a passport or not. If you don't have a passport, I would encourage you to go ahead and be working on that right now.
Not delay.
Yeah, it can take a little while for a passport. I am working on clearance through, like for international travel, and it's probably taken me 8 months to get that special clearance, not a passport, but just a special clearance. And I don't even know if that's gonna happen.
And just know, we're not talking about future passport now because you'll need it on May 5th.
Maybe that's right.
You need that passport in January when we accept you into the program and tell your provider that you're working with on the ground that you're coming, and they're like, well, show us the passport. Right, so it's not next May, it's this May, so get it.
And you're gonna have to have it when you book your flight also. So you'll have to put your passport information. So breakfast was covered every morning that we're there. Lunch, and dinner are on our own, except for the welcome dinner and the farewell dinner. So that's the exception of the two. Any personal expenses, souvenirs, etc. Obviously, you need to cover that. Flight to Copenhagen, and from Stockholm back to the US. You'll need to cover yourself. Again, you can use, it used to be years ago, we made everybody pay the flight, but now so many people have points and rewards of some sort that you can use to help reduce that cost or cover that entire cost. There is an application fee. The ETIAS is spelled out in there. I think it's a $10 fee for
It's like
transportation.
$7 right now, but we don't know exactly what it's time to get that. It's just a registration and application, almost like a visa.
Yeah. And then travel insurance, if you're interested in that, in case there's some reason you can't go. Or
I might also say that international health insurance is included in that program fee. So if your parents are asking, you will be covered in terms of health, the evacuation insurance, etc. That's all, but not your travel. So, lost luggage, canceled flights, that's what you might want to purchase.
which, by the way, my next door neighbor is one of those pilots who flies people out of countries when they get sick. So I had Josh on speed dial just in case whenever I travel. Josh come with me. I don't know that he would be the one to come get us if some crisis happened, but anyway, he would at least know who to call. Okay, questions about the course or the itinerary, the expenses? Yeah.
One day, like, are all like the tuition, like fees costs them too.
Yeah, so you'll pay everything that's applied to your Sanford bill in the semester in which you study. So since it'll be May, it'll be the regular Sanford schedule for May term fees. You can find that on the Sanford .edu website, the what's not publishes it. You don't have to pay it all right on that schedule, though. There are payment plans, just like there will be for the semesters. So you can talk with your one-stop advisor about setting up a payment plan.
Other questions? In case anyone's worried, it's not my first time out of the country, so I've actually backpacked across Europe when I graduated from college. My children are like, no, you didn't, Mom. I was like, I had a life before you were born. I did. I backpacked for 8 weeks across Europe, back before cell phones. And yeah, that was a great experience. And then I've traveled several other places as well. So I'm gonna tell you a quick story while you're thinking of questions. I was in London this past January, with Dr. Gerhardt. For those of you who know, we had gone to a character conference at Oxford and we had a presentation there. It was a great experience. And so Dr. G and I stayed and did a little research, went to visit some schools, etc. And so we were on the tube, which is the public transportation. And Dr. G and I are sitting. I don't know if y'all have been on any kind of subway or anything of that nature. Anyway, so we're on a train car and we're sitting there, and this young man gets on our car and he sits directly across from us. And Dr. G goes, "Look at his shirt. That's your hometown." And sure enough, his shirt said Natchez, Mississippi. That's where I'm from originally. It said Natchez, Mississippi under this little logo thing. And I was like, "Excuse me, are you from Natchez, Mississippi?" And in his British accent, he said, "No, I've never been to the States before." And I said, "I'm so curious, where did you get that shirt? Because that's my hometown on your shirt." And he said, "I picked it up in a thrift store," which is not what they call it there in London. I forget what they call it. But anyway, basically a thrift store. And he said, "Well, since you're from there, do you know what this logo is?" And I looked at his logo, and Dr. G's over there analyzing it. And she's like, "Well, this looks like a boat, and this looks like an 18-wheeler, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "That says Riverside Central Services." And he said, "Yes, it does." And I said, "You're gonna think I'm crazy, but Riverside Central Services is a warehouse business my father owned in Natchez, Mississippi." And he was sitting directly across from me in London at the very same time that Dr. G. So it is a small world. And if you just look up and visit with people, you will make all kinds of connections that you just never realized that you might make. So it was kind of a mind-blowing experience. It was fun. Other questions that you might have? Anything about the course itself? I'll send you the syllabus. Yes.
Do we have to do any work ahead of time?
So I have in there right this minute that there's like a 40-point test based on the first 2 days of class while we're there. So I will probably have some reading ahead of time that I'll give you just to kind of understand the culture a little bit. I have to look it up, but there's this in there. I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. It's Hygge. Does anybody, do you know this? Okay. Anyway, we were having this conversation this past weekend. My brother and his wife were visiting, and Hygge, I think, is pronounced Hygge, and it is a feeling or a sense of calmness in Denmark. And there's not a word that translates exactly for English, but they are really about being present with one another in socializing. And that's why the coffee houses are really big there as well. So I will probably have some reading like helping us understand some of the culture like that. Maybe a little bit about how government is structured. But
How many people are able to?
so we have to have 10.
10 is the minimum. Not anything over that. We just have to get people and talk about this stuff that works. So, but 10 is what we shoot for, because you get more than 10 to a single faculty with a provider, even. It's just best. So I will say, there's 9 of you in the room, and you probably aren't everyone who's interested. So applying earlier is better. We look at several things in terms of making the roster, your GPA, your eligibility requirements, in terms of honors code violations, those types of things all factor in. But the timestamp of your application is an important factor. So if you know this is the one you want, I highly suggest you apply on the 8th.
7 a.m. Yeah.
Can you apply for one? You can apply for May and the summer, but you can't apply for both for 2 Mays because the dates are overlapping. And we wouldn't know which is like your first choice or second choice, and so it kind of skews us, because then if we accept you into one and the other one was your choice, and you drop that one, then you didn't get the one you wanted. So here's how it works, sign up, apply for the one that you want the most. If you have a second choice, you don't get onto that first one. If there's room on that other partner, we offer it to you. So we will say, you were waitlisted for US to family policy, but we have X, Y, and Z program open, let us know as soon as possible, and we'll move your application to one of those.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jordan, is that kind of what happened to you, that you really wanted to go to London and there was some other course that didn't make?
I can't entirely remember.
Okay, it's been a while.
I think this may have been the only course that would have counted towards my, I think it was a humanities for me,
Uh-huh.
so that's what it was.
Okay,
So it was the only option that I could have actually gotten credit for.
right, okay. Makes sense.
Also, about the time stamp, is the application like known as where it opens?
It's not, but it's also not terribly difficult. You're gonna read some agreements and mark them as signed. You're gonna provide, a couple of very simple questionnaires. It's mostly just reading and agreeing to things that people submit. And so in fact, I know people can do it in like 2 minutes because they don't read, they just click sign. So please, if you're gonna do that, know that you can go back in and read everything very closely, because we want you to know what the withdrawal policy is. We want you to know that you're getting charged the application fee, right? Like, so if you just click, read it later.
Other questions? Recruit as many people as you can who you think might be interested in going. As you can tell, you don't have to be an HDFS major to go on this. You don't even really have to like law politics to go on this. So it's really more about culture and what policies are there that help support families. So that's the main thing that we'll be looking at. So
I guess one question, and then I can share a bit about at least my experience in London. How much free time will they have? Will there be a few free nights perhaps or anything like that?
yeah, so the nights would be basically on your own. Of course, I tend to be a little bit of a mother hen in that I like to know where people are, just in case I need to get in touch with you. We'll probably use WhatsApp for communication. And so if you don't have that, go ahead and load that. You probably already have it. But anyway, we'll use WhatsApp. But there would be times my husband and I would go out to dinner and we'd run into another group of students who were going to dinner someplace else when we were in London or whatever it might be. So I won't make us all go out to dinner together or anything of that nature. So you'll have some free time, possibly even in the afternoons, you'll have some free time to go and explore some things that you might not have been on the agenda. Soccer was on your agenda, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And it was not on my agenda, yeah.
I love that balance because you get the structure during the day to go see all the things, whether they're touristy or related to the class that you would want to see. But then you still have ample time to make your own itinerary and bits and pieces. So I went and toured the Arsenal soccer stadium. There was one Saturday we had like kind of a free weekend, and I went to this indoor skiing place. You literally snow skied inside in London, about an hour away by train, and came back. So you'll get to have your own little adventure as well, which is perfect balance.
And y'all will do your own research, but I will continue to do research about other fun things that you might be interested in doing that don't necessarily pertain to the class, but during your free time. Hey, have you thought about going here? Or you might be interested in going to see this, or my husband and I are gonna go do this. Does anybody want to come with us, or whatever it might be? He's the fun parent, by the way. Go ahead.
In terms, like, kind of going off the free time thing, in terms of like, I mean, I know every country is a little bit different, but in terms of just like safety, like how many people would you recommend taking with you?
Yeah, I would say absolutely go in pairs. Absolutely go in pairs. Like, don't go anywhere without a partner. But I mean, anything could happen anywhere, as we know. that happened this past weekend in Birmingham. By the way, I was at Southside Saturday morning. But anything can happen anywhere, but these are very safe countries. They're very safe. Again, anything can happen, but no fewer than 2 of you together.
We don't have a local guide who can say, you know, I wouldn't go on that street, right? That's part of why we work with local providers, because in addition to it just being a really safe place, we then have an expert, but where you can.
Yeah.
We'll just also say on that subject of safety. You're going to have an app on your phone called Alert Traveler, and it will have an SOS button. So in addition to programming like the local 911 number and having all of that information, you're also just going to have an app that we are using to track where everyone is. You know, so that we can, you know, throw out a big brother thing where we're like watching all the time. But if we get an alert from our system that says, hey, there's an issue happening right here in this part of the city, we can send out a notice to you. You will immediately know where that is. You can then check in that you're safe, and you can send an SOS to us. So that app is also really helpful.
Have any of you traveled to Europe before? Okay, so some of you traveled to Europe. Anybody not traveled out of the country? Okay. I'm mapping, this is a great place to go. This is the, yeah, it's a great place, great way to do it. I have 3 children. 2 of my 3 traveled abroad. They didn't go here to Stanford, they went elsewhere, but 2 of my 3 traveled abroad, and it was a great experience for both of them. I tried to get my other child to travel abroad. Just couldn't convince him. That would be a really valuable experience. I think he regrets it now. So
I just also want to know, let you know, as the director, I see a lot of programs that will just come through, a lot of faculty, and they're all amazing. Dr. Chambers has been exceptional. Like, she really has been thinking about this for a long time, and just hearing all the things that she wants to teach you, wants to do.
thank you. It has been on my bucket list for quite some time, so glad that it's coming to fruition. Okay. I don't know if you have my contact information, but feel free to.
Her email is on
On the
her
website.
page, so if you go to the abroad, that's time ready, you can just put in family or Denmark, and pull it right up, you can have her email.
And I will email y'all the syllabus also, so then you'll be able to reply to me if you want to. I've got like another whole box of cookies and at least a half a bag of Swedish fish here, so help yourself. And you're welcome to take a tulip with you if you would like. Okay, okay, thank y'all. Help yourself.